Everything my partner does bothers me. How do we get unstuck?
Brannon, how's it going, man?
It's going. It's, bumping along.
Uh, it's funny, the topic today. I've wondered that question on the other side of it. Everything I do bothers my partner. How do I stop? Like,
Yeah, we should have your wife on asking this question.
should have Rhiannon come on and actually like speak to this question. I don't know if she'd have any good advice or not, because maybe I still bother her with everything I do. I don't know. So,
Which I don't understand. I mean, you don't do anything annoying, like
no,
ever. No, that's
never. Yeah,
true though. Like you're just, you just like lay around, watch UFC, just like you help around the house. You're
right.
like, you are like a perfect husband.
It's a pure miracle. We're hitting 25 years this year, and with what I put her through, it is an actual miracle that we're going to hit our 25th year this
Yeah,
year and
absolutely.
still like each other, because I think she
Abs
likes me again now. It took a while.
That's because you're a good
So
dude and you got a great smile.
thanks, man.
So she'll hang on just for your smile. So
It's yeah, my smile is great for Zoom meetings because it's like bing, it's like glow in the dark. So
no, no, she's a lucky woman and you're a lucky man.
I am a
So
lucky man.
yeah. Um, well, we are blessed today because we have a couple here with us, and we've wanted couples to come on, couples who are stuck, couples who just kind of struggling. We want to help couples to just get unstuck. And so Jeff and Lexus answered the call. They're here with us today. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
If you could give us a little bit of what's going on, a little bit of background. I We don't care if it's Jeff or Lexus, either one of you. But just fill us in. Tell us where you're at and what's going on.
Well, I'll start. Obviously, so I gotta just quickly own the fact that like I was on the show about a year ago. We were getting ready to we were kind of preparing for a vacation out to Utah. We're living in Georgia right now, and we were having some fights over like how much time will we spend with each family and stuff like that. It's now been a year. Lex is actually out in Utah right now. I'm about to fly out there on Wednesday, and yeah, I just kind of I started listening to your podcast again. I kind of took a little break and I heard the call, and so I just signed up. And then I told Lex, I'm like, hey, I signed this up for this. So she might be a little bit blindsided by it. She's probably I probably annoyed her yet again, but I'll let her decide on that one.
Yeah,
So
no. Yeah, we live in Atlanta, Georgia, and have been married for 10 years. Jeff's been working through recovery for, I don't know, how long has it been, Jeff? 2 years?
two years. I mean, we had you'd found out about it beforehand, and we'd actually gone and met in I believe Tyler's practice there. I'm looking at his little office right now, and it's like kind of familiar to when we
Yep.
were meeting there. And so, but yeah, actually act like working recovery for myself from my own like inside. It's been about 2 years now, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So
So he's been working that. And I mean, as with all of that recovery and addiction and everything comes a lot of pain, a lot of anger, a lot of sadness, just like all the emotions I'm sure is a lot of people, a lot of women feel. And I don't know, I think we're at a point where we have two young girls, and so we're in a hard stage as far as like parenting goes and trying to figure out like how to manage their emotions, and then we're also trying to manage our marriage and our emotions, and just feeling really stuck and feeling like, I mean, I'm feeling a lot of resentment and annoyance and anger and things like that towards Jeff. And I don't even know where it's really coming from, but just um, I don't know if it's just like, oh, this is part of like the recovery process. Like here's a stage where like, we're like stepping through the stage. Hopefully there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But um, yeah, I think we're just in a place where I feel stuck and like, we're coming up on 10 years of marriage, and it's like things are just looking different than maybe I thought they were. And like I didn't know this is we were going to have to be dealing with like such a hard like recovery process and like all the pain that comes with addiction and things like that at this point. So yeah, that's a little bit about like where we're at and like where we just want somewhere to go. I think we're just feeling a little bit
Yeah.
hopeless.
And just to give a little more context as well, like I've been working this recovery for like last 2.5 years, and part of that was I got my sponsor in my 12-step program about, oh, it was February of last year, so a year and a half ago, and he's intense. And so it's required me to like he wants me to go to 4 in-person meetings a week, for my particular one, which I do. I actually just picked up a sponsee, so that's adding more time. So it's been intensive. I've also been working with a therapist from I think Tyler's group. So all in all, like I think you guys were talking about the levels of program or whatever. Like I guess this would be almost a 2.1 or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, like between all the stuff that I'm doing, it's a lot. And so that Lex has to pick up the bill a lot of times, like time wise, like with the girls and bedtimes and things that like I can't do because I'm I'm working this program. So yeah, just intensely, and that's been going on for, the last year and a half. And so I think she's had to pick up a lot. And then I think she just recently started working a 12-step program as well, as far as
Yeah,
and
February.
yeah, a non or whatever.
S and on.
S and on,
Yeah,
yeah.
yep. So
Yeah,
um
as of February. So I think that also brings up a lot of like, oh, like I didn't know I was feeling these things or, and hearing other people's stories like, oh, like should I be more mad or I don't know, like just, you're trying to figure out. I'm working through these things now, which I haven't been before, so I think that adds to it. It's been so helpful and such a great resource to have like a group of women who just like really understand what I'm going through. Just because like I mean, I have friends who I've told, and it's like, they can be like, wow, that's really hard. But it's like to really be with a group of women who have done like gone through the exact, if not worse, like than I have, just like makes all the difference and has been a huge, huge blessing. So, um, yeah, but yeah, it takes a lot of time. It's like hard. It's like something like selfish, like an addiction, like takes away a lot of time. And then now to work through the recovery process is now taking so much time away from our family. And so it's just like a hard, like balance of like, I know this is right, but gosh, it's hard. So
Yeah. Is I know this is kind of maybe a stupid question, but is the programming as you're doing it working?
yeah. So I'm currently 10 months sober. Um I think I've made a lot of big, yeah, a lot of strides. I think yeah, it's working. I will say I was just actually thinking about that. Oh, what was I gonna say? Now I've forgotten. Oh, I was just gonna say that like I think, being sober, there's a line from the book where it's like sober is not well. And so certainly that's like true at times where it's like, yeah, my old coping mechanisms, my way to like numb some of the pains or the things I don't want to feel, like those are gone. So there are times now where like, the anger comes out, and like rather than just like holding it in where it's like, oh, I can go numb in a little bit or whatever it is, it's like, no, I'm just angry. And so I make more mistakes now for sure, or at least I feel all of the pain of the mistakes that I make. And so, like I hate to admit it, but like I don't know that I was really much of a yeller before, but I find myself yelling more, which is super painful because like yeah, like a lot of times it's at my daughters who are like, 6 and 2, and it's just like they really aren't the causes per se. It's just like I get to this place of fear and insanity, and then this stuff comes out. And so whereas before, I could obviously go numb or like just forget it or whatever, like I don't do that now. So I have to sit in pain a lot more, which is uncomfortable, but at the same time, like I think it's better, and I think it's going to actually yield growth. Whereas before it was just a numb and then there'd be no growth. So I certainly think that I think the program's working. I just think there's a lot more pain, and there's a lot more awareness of the amount of pain that uh is there to work through.
You're
Yep.
nodding your head, Lexus. Do you agree with that? Do you feel like the program's working?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, like my first like discovery date was back in 20, it was like before we had kids. So 2018. And that's when he was saying like, oh, we were coming to your office, meeting with somebody there, things like that. And that was like for, I don't know, 6 to 8 months. And I was like, we did it. Like we did, that was easy, like we worked through that. And then come to find out 5, 6 years later that, that actually wasn't the case and he was still acting out throughout all that time and I didn't know. So like, but the person he is after these last 2 years of like really intensive like work in the program is he's completely different. And like, yeah, it's true. It's hard because he is showing up in a different way where, yeah, we're not used to him being as emotional, I guess. I think it's been hard for me because it's like, yeah, I think he was numbing it out like a lot of the time before. And so it's just like we're now shifting into this new place of like he doesn't have coping skills. We need to figure out new ones. I need to figure out, new ones. I think we've kind of probably created some codependency and things like that as well. But yeah, I totally think that like SA can work if you put the time and effort in, like he has. And even like we meet with a life coach together every other week, and she's met with Jeff since he chose like 2.5 years ago to like really put in the work to now. And she's like, like you should be like, look at you, Jeff. Like you should be proud of yourself. Like you really, like he really has like taken what do they say take the bull by the horns, like he just really has just like run with it and just like which I'm grateful for because being an S&on I've now heard like that's not always the case.
Does it bother you too that you see that?
um yeah. I mean it does in some ways like bother me that other people are not doing
No,
it
like
or with
what
Jeff.
you see him doing this, and this work is now hard, and you're seeing more emotion, and it's rough. You're grateful for it on one hand,
Yeah.
but on the other hand, does it bother you to see him taking the bull by the horns and starting to get better and causing the mess that
Yes.
it is?
Yeah, I think that's where some of the resentment comes from is just like, man, like if you just never had this addiction, we wouldn't have to be going through this and like you wouldn't be gone all the time and um like it's like a ball of yarn. It's like, we're like unraveling this ball of yarn. It's like, oh, here's another issue. It actually wasn't just the addiction. The addiction was hiding all of these issues that we haven't dealt with for 25 years. And here they are. And like, now I'm a part of this, and it's like, and I'm doing the same for me. It's like, now I'm here and I'm like, I'm trying to unravel my ball of yarn as well. And so I think yeah, it's there's a lot of pain and it's really difficult.
Uh, I like your analogy with the ball of yarn. I guess my question is, the question that you guys have is basically like, how do we get unstuck? Everything he's doing bothers me. And so then let's put that question up against, is it working? Because what I'm hearing is, yes, it's working. And yet here you guys are in this situation right now today. So
Yeah.
I think some of it comes back to a bit recent, like after I made the appointment for this, like I feel like we've had a couple things kind of fall in place that almost helped us get unstuck from where we were because it had been 2 or 3 weeks of just like kind of like banging our heads against things, and then we finally had kind of a point where we kind of got a little bit past some of this. I know certainly like I don't know. Do you want to tell the story about running around in the kitchen, Lex, or do you want
Oh,
at a friend's house?
oh no, just like yeah, one one of the things that we brought up that was bothersome to me is I don't feel like Jeff reads the room very well, or just like can be childish in some ways. Is like it's yeah, so we were at a friend's house and Jeff was like running in circles in the kitchen with the kids, just like having fun. And we have friends who are pretty anxious about like their kids getting hurt or like doing anything that's just like maybe like accident inducing. And I know that because she's one of my best friends. And so I'm just like watching her just be so anxious about like what Jeff's doing. And I'm just like, we need to stop this. Like why isn't he noticing that like this is an issue? So anyways, and then at the end, like one of their kid fell and smacked their face on
Hmm.
the ground. And I just was like, see, like, look, like this is so annoying. Like, you know, we've told you to stop. Like, this is one of the things that just bothers me. I'm so annoyed. And like, look, prove my point. Like, there it is. And I think what Jeff's mentioning as far as like one of the conversations we've had with the life coach is like, I really have an issue with like trying to control other people's um like I try to control other people's emotions and try to control how other people are showing up. And I sure I do that with Jeff as well. So yeah, I mean, in regards to like, is it working? I'm like, yeah, like the program's working for him to be like sober and not acting out. I guess, yeah, I don't know if you want.
Is that like, it, will sobriety fix all the problems?
No.
It's kind of interesting hearing you guys talk because it's almost like it's caused more.
Yes.
Uh, now I'm more angry, I'm more kind of explosive, and our marriage, we're more stuck. It's like if we really, and I know it seems crazy, but like 5 years ago till now, are you happier now than what you were 5 years ago?
In our marriage?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Right.
Sure. I'd say certainly less happy. I feel like our potential for joy is higher though, but that's just my um
Okay.
Yeah, and why do you say that, Jeff?
um I mean personally, yeah, I'm not numb to everything, right? Like I'm aware, like I don't know how to say that. Like I really like I cherish those moments. Like it's kind of like the pain paints such a dark backdrop so that when those like moments of light do come in, they're just so much brighter. And also I know that like they're not going to be like it's not always going to be like this like joyful moment. So it's like I'm really trying to like cherish those moments of brightness more, I guess, because it's like I know, I don't get to stay there forever. And so I think that those moments are yeah, just much more for lack of a better term, like they're real. Like it's just real. Like that's the nice thing about that is one nice thing about sobriety is like stuff is real now, but that also means the pain is real. And and so it's that tug of war, I guess.
I wonder if there's like a couple of things happening at the same time. And Brandon, you might be wanting to go a different direction, so redirect me
No,
if you
you're
need
fine.
to. But um, with typical recovery, Jeff, sounds like you're kind of working it. And I mean, I even hear like Lexus is saying that she notices that you're sober, but she also notices that you're becoming aware of other things. And she's now even more aware of those other things too. And it like rubs raw now because they're there in your face all the time. Um, and that doesn't make for a better marriage right now, but that is a lot of times part of the process of recovery. When you start to get sober, then you have to confront all those I call them the secondary character flaws that have been protecting the addiction all along. And so now I've got to deal with the fact that like one of mine was that I was too checked out with my kids, and I was like, oh man, I'm not as present as I thought I was. And that had to be hard for my wife because she was probably screaming it the whole time. And now I'm realizing it and now I'm still doing it, but not fixing it all the way yet. And she's like, or yours is like maybe the anger that's coming up. And now you've got to work on that. And that might even be more important than the acting out right now, except for the fact that the acting out numbs you from having to look at that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so it's like when you start to look at the secondary character flaws, if there's room for the continued work for recovery to include all of that and not just your sobriety,
Yeah.
that becomes really important. And I think one place where Brannon might be going, and one of the reasons I asked the question is like when we get new clients who come into like our groups, I tell them, I don't want you to come to group unless you show up every week and you're consistent. And then it's kind of a weird paradox because usually a little ways in, they've been doing their work, you start to see the traction being made, and then one of them will call me and be like, "Hey, I'm missing group this week." And I'll be like, "What? You can't miss group." And they're like, "No, I'm missing group this week because my kid has a ballet thing and I'm going to go to that instead." And I'm like, "Hallelujah." Like you're finally getting it. Like I'm going to be the person who makes choices based on my values. And guess
Mhm.
what that is? That's recovery. But now I'm doing it intentionally for the right reasons based on our values. And so I think Brandon's maybe asking, are you in a spot where the 2.1 level of care is necessary for the progress you're making? And would it be better to take a look at saying, you know what, I'm also a husband and have two little girls, and I'm going to cash in one group a week for reading a parenting book with my wife and making sure we're on the same page, or doing a date night even though she doesn't want to go with me right now because that's going to be painful and we got to figure out how to get through that, or you know like
Yeah.
like and I don't know, I don't want to push you out of a program that's working for you, but it's
Yeah.
worth asking the question, like, what's the overall goal and what is necessary for what your goals are.
Yeah, I think that that is something we've talked about, and yeah, it's a tricky place. Yeah, again, I'm stuck with this. Like I've listened to a bunch of you guys' podcasts, so I've been thinking about that salmon metaphor, like the salmon swimming up the river and then trying to swim up and get up the waterfall, and like when's the right time to like, you know, break stuff down. And so like, yeah, it's weird because like, yeah, I'm in this program and I've been doing the amount of meetings and it's working. I feel like I've finally gotten to the place where I'm not super like pissed off at my sponsor anymore because of all the stuff that he makes me do. Like it's kind of like, oh, I see that it's worked, and it's working. And so my sponsor, he's pretty hard about the like 4 meetings a week thing. So like that, trying to go down a level on that and even like start to pare back, yeah, it brings in kind of that fear of like, well, okay, then am I still hitting enough stuff? Like, am I putting my sobriety and recovery at risk by doing that? Or and I might have to go out there and find a new sponsor as well. Like he's kind of made it clear that if I don't want to do that many, like I'll have to find a new sponsor. And so that's where it's like, you know,
The-
there's go ahead. Yeah.
well, Jeff, as I'm listening to you talk, it's just like, you know, you're getting the results that you're getting in your life. You're like that's what you're getting. We can't get around that, right?
And
The
some
Right.
of them
que-
are good.
yeah, and the question is to zoom out and say, are these what I want?
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing in many ways, they're not, right? But if you keep doing the same thing and expecting different results, you know, and I'm hearing like a lot of do be have stuff going on. Do you know what I mean by that?
I
If
think
I
so. Yeah.
Yeah, if I do all the things my sponsor tells me, if I do this, if I do that, if I then I'll have recovery
Then I'll be good enough and then I'll have recovery.
versus shifting it. And be do have is a lot scarier. It's more vulnerable because you shift into a place of I'm going to trust myself. I'm going to operate from a place of my deep intuition, know who I am. I'm going to have boundaries with people. And I'm gonna live more authentically rather than be on a leash pulled around telling me what I should and shouldn't do. Right. And my guess, and I'm kind of jumping to the chase here because we only have so much time. My guess is deep down, that's what Lexus is craving. Is a man who's grounded and knows himself and trusts himself. Um, and so the things that you're doing, I think, are yielding some positive results, but those positive results that you're getting actually are giving you enough to say it's working, but you're actually not addressing the real issue because of that. Because it's like, this is working, this is enough. But are you actually getting down to the real issue? And you probably are in some ways. Sounds like with your life coach and things like that, like you're doing some good work there.
Yeah.
But I would shift some things. I'd do some different work if I were both of you actually. So what do you hear me saying, you guys?
Uh, I mean, yeah, like even just as you're saying that, like I recognize that like I am way more dependent on Lex than I care to admit as far as like getting my worth. Like if she's not happy, like how can I be happy? I've obviously screwed up, you know? And so
And by the way, Jeff, with what you just
yeah,
said, sorry to be annoying. Where does that give her any space to be unhappy? Where does that
it
give her
doesn't.
any? It doesn't, right? Because then you
Yeah,
crumble,
yeah,
right? And then you can see why she's annoyed by you because she's got to caretake for you rather than be her, right?
right.
So, all right, I'll step out. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Like, yeah, it's something I'm recognizing and um yeah, so there's that part of it. So still discovering, and I mean, even re-listening to like kind of my last episode, it's like, yeah, I think I'm still learning who I really am. Like really like figuring out what those needs are, figuring out like what my strengths are, I guess, still as well. Like, because I even to today, like, you know, if you ask me to like list out the things that like I'm good at or where I bring the most, I don't know. And I mean, Lex could probably tell you like I still suck at taking a compliment because like I just don't believe what people say just because I don't I don't believe it about myself. And so yeah, I like to get to that place where I can just be like I'm working on that, but for me to say like yeah, I could just be right now, like I don't know. So I'm still having to like that's one of those wrestles too, right? Where I'm trying to continue to ask God to like uh give me that stuff so that I can keep learning it so that I can step into that um that strength and just be me because and it goes back to again what I said in kind of the last episode is just like I've been so blind for so long just like blinding like gaslighting myself like lying to everybody around like just so afraid and some of them just my deep childhood wounds of just like I just don't know what my worth really is. So like for me to then try and like step into that place of like, oh yeah, like I'm good. Like I'm worthy. Like it's yeah,
Hmm.
that's work that I need to be doing. So
I think
uh
that's kind of what I'm hearing is the place where you guys are at in the work. And I just maybe insert my own personal story with you here, Jeff, something I see is for so long, I was so worried about losing everything important to me, my wife and my kids, that I would do anything I could to make sure that my wife was placated and that I didn't mess up and that I didn't lose her. And it was truly a fear-based energy. That's what Brandon's talking about with the be have do and the do have be stuff. But over time, and this is the middle stuff, and this is the stuff that I think your middle steps and the 12 steps actually really get at, or hopefully what you're doing with your coaching, you start to kind of move into a place where the energy has to shift for long-term success. And the energy for me went from fear to almost like anxiety and possibility to a little sliver of, whoa, maybe I'm actually lovable, to then the burning energy of, I already know I'm loved. And as that energy starts to shift, that is the sustainable energy of a long-term full recovery. And sobriety will take care of itself when the energy is love. Sobriety is hard to keep when the energy is fear. Um, and I think that that's like on your side of things, Jeff. I hear you being in the middle of that wrestle. I love that you're there, dude. But that has to be the wrestle more than continuing to chase just the sobriety.
yeah.
So I also want to know, Lexus, like while Brannon was talking, I was just watching your body language, and there seemed to be like a couple of different emotions or thoughts that went through you. What was that?
Yeah, I think yeah, just a lot of what he said is is a more beautiful way of what I feel like I haven't been sharing with Jeff. I think um I see a lot of fear in Jeff. And I think it's hard because yeah, he does have this sponsor who like tells him like XYZ needs to happen, and that's really hard. And I want, it's what you guys are saying is like I want him to act out of a place of what he values. Like I really want him to figure out what he values, and I want him to do and act like out of that space instead of fear. I think a lot of the ways he shows up that may be like annoying to me or like whatever. I mean, and there's some of those things that are just, silly and they're me. Like it's like part of that's me. But another part of it is I think, yeah, I see that he's sober, and to me it's like I see you're sober, but are you really like aligning yourself with your values now? Like because right now it feels like you're still in the same loop of like, being away from us and like trying like and it's just like a hard balance of like maintaining sobriety, not being fearful, and like acting in a way that like shows us that like your family is really what you value. I don't know, and I think it's hard because I think, like I said, there's a lot of those like knots that we're trying to untie that have like come to fruition of like what like these things of, like, oh, now there's this anger part and there's this, not there's no numbing, and I don't know. I guess I'm just saying like I want us to both be acting in a way that's like not out of fear but out of love, because I think we've been driven by fear for so long.
Mhm.
Like a lot of what both of us have done has been out of fear of like, it's like me being on like cautious, like is he acting out, is he not, like just fear of all that. And like now we're in a place where he's sober, but I'm still like we're still kind of in a place of fear of like, okay, now you're sober, like are we gonna go back to that? And then when, I feel like maybe our like the way we act is not like aligning with our values, that's hard for me. I think that's where some of the resentment comes. And I think it's a learning process. I don't know if Jeff or I have ever been practiced and like working out of a place that doesn't have some fear. And so I think that's just something that we need to learn in order to get out of these places where we feel stuck.
So,
It's
go ahead,
go,
Tyler.
you, Brannon, you go.
No, please.
I just one observation, then I'll kick it over to Brannon here. What you just said, Alexis, I said Alexis, sorry,
You're fine.
Lexis
You're fine.
is so beautiful that you're saying I see that in him, but I also feel it in me. And then I wonder, like, if we're piecing this together now, part of at least what you're saying is I want him to choose from his values, which would hopefully mean choosing us as a family sometimes to be close to us. So I'm going to invite him to be close to us by being annoyed at everything he does. which is another way of saying I'm too afraid to actually go with love and say, man, I'm putting myself out there and I'd love for you to choose us tonight instead of something else.
Totally.
So I'm just gonna kind of give you the message that I'm upset with you, but then when you choose us, I'm gonna keep you at arm's length.
Yep.
And that's a normal place for people to end up being, because it's scary to step back into the spaces you guys are trying to. And I hear you both doing it. I really do. I hear good work happening on both sides. So
Yeah.
go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, I have really fat fingers, by the way. And so if I want to give you an analogy here, like if let's say my wife dropped her wedding ring down a drain and I stuck my finger down to try to get it, what would I do? I'd push it
Push
further
it
down the
down.
drain.
Yes.
I just go further down. Um, this is what
Your fingers are short though too, Brandon. So
I
we'll go
know
too
it
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
go
don't know if
very
you'd reach
far.
it.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
go very far, would it? That's what happens with conversations like this with shame. So Jeff,
Yeah.
with you, as we're saying, like, hey, yeah, you shouldn't show up in fear. Like, just don't show up in fear, and you feel shame about how you're showing up weak. And as we talk, I can feel your shame, Jeff. I can feel like, yeah, I want to show up stronger, but I don't, and I'm just weak, and I'm not showing up strong, and we're just pushing that ring further down the drain, right? Um, is that what you're feeling a little bit, Jeff?
A little bit like I think it's I think it's more, it's just like, yeah, I don't, right now, I'm not feeling that way where it's like, I can just recognize what you're saying is true. Yeah. Like I want to shift over more to love. Like that quite frankly is what I need to do and get out of that fear.
Do you know how?
Um, that's the part that's tricky. Yeah, no, like not exactly.
There's
I
one
have some.
path. There's one path. And this is same for you, Lexus. It's same for all of us as humans. Um, if there's a like if there's a mean dog chasing you and you're running everywhere you can and hiding from it, eventually to deal with that dog, what do you need to do?
You gotta
Face
stare
it.
that dog in the face.
And you got to sit like in that vulnerability of like it's getting closer, and I'm going to confidently look in its face and let it know that I'm strong, that I can handle this, and chances are that dog will turn around and walk away. But if you're just running, and when I say running, it's things like compliance and trying to be good enough. And, let me give you some examples, Jeff. And Lexus, this could maybe trigger some things, but let me give some stupid examples here. Let's say Jeff wanted to buy a fancy sports car, just like this really nice sports car, and it's like God came down to you and said, you need that sports car. Like you need it. And you're thinking, okay, I need to get it. And Lexus is like, we don't have the money. What should Jeff do? You had a dream, and God is like, that sports car is important. You need that.
I, I, I mean, I'm obviously I need to buy it,
No,
but
but Lexus comes along and says, no, you don't. No, we
Lexus tries
won't.
to
right.
check you into a mental
Yeah.
institution for
Yeah.
being bipolar.
Midlife crisis. Not happening. What do you do, Jeff?
I mean, I guess I'm going to the mental institution until I can and go there until they realize I'm not crazy, and then I go try and buy the car still.
Okay. So
What I actually do is probably not anywhere near those lines. I probably go find like a beater Toyota and be like, yeah, we did it. Like we've stuck to the budget and we got the car. It's not the one that I was told to get, but
so so
we're
so listen
somewhere along the lines.
listen to this example. What I'm saying though, like you doing something like this. It's sit. I hate to say this, but the dog that you're looking back at here is Lexus's like lack of approval. Like she doesn't want you to, in this example, she doesn't want you to buy the car. God's telling you you get that car. And so Lexus will hate it, but she'll like it. So she'll feel safe because now she's with a man
Only
who,
if there's principle behind buying the car.
yeah, God came down. There's principle. There's faith. It's like clear that this is truth. And so Lexus will hate it, but if there's principle behind it, like Tyler's saying, over time, when you show up that way consistently again and again and again, all of a sudden you're a stable, trustworthy man, right? And then she's going to want to be close to you. If you're selling out all the time again and again, she's going to be right where she's at now, Jeff, where she's pushing away, like, oh, I just don't trust you. And she's got her own stuff she's working on too,
Yeah,
right? Do you see the principle though
yeah,
there? Um, but
Don't
that
don't
means
go getting abusive and tell her you had a dream about buying a new car.
It would be a motorcycle. It
Yeah.
wouldn't be a car.
Make sure God actually tells you that.
Yeah. Like you guys are giving ideas.
yeah, it's hard because it causes some friction, but at the same time, and so yeah, don't we Tyler and I see guys swing the pendulum from weak guy like with no backbone and no truth to like, okay, now I'm going to show you that's weakness too.
yeah.
Versus like I'm going to focus on my relationship with God here, trust myself and act in this humble truth even when it is hard. That's where strength is, right?
A different version of that would be what we just talked about in the relationship where she says, hey, I wish you would choose to invest in the time in the family a little bit more. And then when you're there, she's like, why are you here? you sweep the floor wrong, you do the dishes wrong, like you never show up with the right kind of energy, you're always angry. And then
I certain I
instead of disappearing, you still hang in there with her and acknowledge her feelings and then still stick to being there and being present.
Yeah. I was gonna say I
Um,
certainly don't wipe the counters down right. That's for sure. Um, yeah, I
It's
think,
myself.
one of the things that's tough is like even right now I'm kind of early in my career. I'm at a startup and the work hours have been crazy, and so I've been working a ton of hours, and um, so that's just one more place that I'm not around enough, and it again, I wish there was this black and white, like yeah, like in the example that Brannon gave of like, oh, God's come down and been like, okay, you need to get the sports car, but it's like, it's not that black and white. It's so much more gray, right? So it's like, on one hand, I'm here, I'm working these hours, and I'm trying to progress the career so that I can provide for the family, and so that my earning potential increases such that like I can create, more space or like hold things. And so in one way, I come home and Lex is just completely burnt out from the day, right? She's been dealing with these two kids, and she's chosen to give up her job recently, which I think has always been something that she's kind of been holding on to. And whether that's like a almost like I'm diagnosing this one like a way of her kind of holding on to the masculine. She's very feminine, so I think it was a way of her holding on to the masculine's like, oh, I can provide, I can do this stuff, and she's actually done really good to like give that up because she realizes that's not congruent with her values. But now she's feeling stuck in that like being with the girls, and then I don't show up, I don't get home, and then when I do get home, I'm I'm beat. Like I've been working mentally, and so yeah, to get to that place of empathy of being like, man, yeah, I see that you're having a hard time, and like, and to just hold that space, but then also know, and I'm gonna
Jeff,
go back to work tomorrow as well, and like,
Jeff, I want
you
to
know,
ask you, you say it's not that clear cut. Um, do you know the difference between a feeling of fear and a feeling of peace?
fear is standing at the top of the diving board, and peace is like after I've safely made it into the water, and I'm like, that was a pretty sweet jump, like,
Interesting.
like
The
I don't.
have you ever had peace in figuratively speaking before you've jumped off the board where you just know you've got to do it? It might hurt, but it's the right thing to do, and you are convicted in the peace that it's the right thing to do.
Hmm. I can't think of an example right now. I hope that if I scan my whole life, I could find one. But
Yeah.
you you can have peace in dangerous situations,
yeah,
all right?
I I
Jeff,
I
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say like I worked through step 8, I believe, or step 9, whichever ones where you got to go and make amends and stuff. And obviously there was some peace in those moments of like this could suck, like making this phone call to like make this amends, but like it is what it is.
It's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do. So I think there's some there, but I don't know that
That's a
I've
good
got a lot of
example.
I don't know that I've got a lot of peace around like some of these bigger ones. I think sometimes I've had some peace in like the sharing my story more, like kind of putting myself out there and being like, this is what I've gone through. eh, Relate to any of this, like whatever. Because like that's kind of scary sometimes to see if anybody's like, you don't know how people will react when you share like, oh hey,
Sure.
actually I've been dealing with an addiction for like last 15 years. Like,
Right.
how are you going to respond to this? So I think some of those places I've felt that peace
Well,
rather than the fear. But
Jeff, if you were to, and I want you to stop for a second and think about this before you answer. If you were to say, I go to 4 groups a week because I feel peace about going, or I go to 4 groups a week because I'm afraid that if I don't, my sponsor will be mad. I won't stay sober. And so fear is driving me to go to group, or peace and truth is driving me to go to group. So stop and think about it before you just knee jerk reaction to that. And there's no right answer here, but I want the honest truth.
It's it's a both and. Uh,
I love it, dude.
yeah, it's both. Like I certainly, and it's sometimes day to day. Like
If it's
some
both,
days,
Jeff,
yeah,
if it's both and, then could you go to 2 groups a week and spend more time with Lexus? Because that would be more balanced, right?
We'll let him sit with it for a second.
it's yeah, it's a tough spot. There's the first thing that comes up is like, yeah, the fear of like, oh, I'm gonna have to like have this conversation with my sponsor. I'm gonna have
which
to take that
you have
like
tried to have.
I have tried to have
Yeah,
this,
he
yeah.
has tried to have.
And what I did was I came up with, it used to be that I was going to all night meetings, and so what I did is I started a new meeting that was at 6:30 a.m. that I could get up to, so I had more nights at home, so that I could like um so that Lex could have a night to go out. So I've tried to find the creative places in there. Um and
But is that to avoid his wrath? Like, I love sponsors like your sponsor. Like, props to
I do
this guy,
too.
by
This
the
guy's
way.
the man.
And at
Yeah.
the same
yeah,
time, like, are you going to step up for you of like what is actually working for you, even if this
yeah,
guy's intense?
yeah, I and that's where it comes back to that both and is like some of it's fear and some of it's like, yeah, this works. And so I'm
So,
still, yeah, I'm still like having that. So I could I think the biggest issue here is like my sponsor has made it so, and I already hate just saying that because I've already given the power away, right, to my sponsor. But yeah, there's like I need to go back and have the conversation again with him and talk to him because now I have a sponsee. There seems like there might be some room to where anyway, that's going to decide. He made it seem as though I'd have to go get a new sponsor if I wanted to drop that down. So it's not necessarily as simple as it's not as simple as like, oh, I can just try this like 2 meetings a week and I can figure out like, oh, that doesn't actually work for me. I
Yeah.
need to like go to more. It's if I decide to do that, it's I'm going on this journey of finding a new sponsor, likely need to restart the steps, that all process. Yeah, like what does that do as far as my sobriety? Like there it
So, so,
anyway,
so Jeff, the point that Brannon's making is
yeah,
whatever you decide to do, own it. And
yeah, certainly.
yeah, and own it from a place of having thought that through and say, you know what, this sponsor is that valuable to me that I've got to keep it this way for this and this and this and this reason. And then you can go and you can have that conversation with Lexus and let her be upset at you about that, but know that you made it because you thought it through and you're acting on certain reasons and
Right,
principles.
right.
we're out of time, and yeah,
We haven't even really gotten all the way to Lexus's side. I want a whole episode with Lexus.
yeah, I want to invite you guys back too sooner than later because we're just diving in, and God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. Healthy masculinity is about channeling your anger and aggression for good. It's about living on the edge. It's about being a warrior and being able to be honest and authentic. And Jeff, your work that you're doing, I want to give you props because you've done awesome work. But now it's time to do deeper work. It's time to go further. And Lexus is a great reflector back to you of like, hey, this isn't quite like what we're going for here. Um, and you are capable, Jeff, of dealing with your shame and your trauma and becoming that powerful, safe, strong man for her. I know you are, Jeff. So I really appreciate you guys coming on, your vulnerability. And I'm serious. I'd love to have you back soon.
We would love
So
to have you come on if you're willing again, if you didn't
Yeah,
get
we'd
too
love
beat
to.
up this time around.
No. No, beat us up a little more.
Okay. Alexis, I loved having you and your presence here today. I know that you're asking really good questions, and I could see a lot of people are just going to listen and not see, but I could see things kind of moving through you too in terms of your own work going, oh, I could look at it this way, or oh, this or that. I see things churning in you too, and I'd
Yeah.
love to address those sometime. So
Yeah.
thank you guys. Thank you to our listeners for being here. Thank you to you guys for coming on. We love to have couples, especially. So if anybody else is out there listening and wants to come get put through the ringer that that Jeff and Lexus just did, go to therapybrothers.org and sign up to come on the show. We'd love to talk with you guys. And until next time, keep on keeping on.